Albania, a small country in Europe straddling the Mediterranean Sea, home to a population of around 3 million people, including me, Aleksandra Lewis. My name is distinctively non-Albanian because I'm not Albanian. I come from the other side of the world, Melbourne, Australia.
Can you tell me what you know about the country Albania?
Oh, I don't know about Albania. I remember it was, it's in Mediterranean area.
I believe the country Albania is in Europe and they speak Albanian. Other than that, I do not know very much.
Although we have to give some credit to the younger generation who seem to be slightly better informed.
So, what do you know about Albania?
I know Albania is a small country up in Europe, south of Europe, near Italy, and I know it was drove into war during World War II, and I know that is a really fun country, I've heard, and that it is a good place to go.
Cool, so you would like to visit Albania?
Yes, very much.
Great.
However, I now call the Albanian capital, Tirana, my home. For a range of reasons, there is a strong desire amongst Albanian people to live outside of their own country.
Në rast se do ju ofroj një punë jashtë shtetit, ndërkohë që jeni punësuar në Shqipëri, do largoheshit?
Po.
Pse?
Mendoj se është më mirë andej.
Se di, besoj se po.
Pse? Pse mendon se duhet largohemi?
Drogat nuk janë të mjaftueshme këtu për një jetesë normale. Edhe korrupsioni na mbyti valla.
Me plot dëshirë.
Arsyeja se pse do largoheshit?
Pse se nuk plotësohen kushtet e fëmijëve as shkolla as me rrugat që janë këtu.
Patjetër.
Pse?
Po sa është më mirë, nuk ke siguri këtu. Për asnjë gjë.
Patjetër.
Pse?
Dijem rrugat Shqipëri. Vështirë.
Po, normal.
Pse?
S'ka vlerë për mua.
One of the favourite places for people to go is to London, so we took to the streets of London to find out what Londonites know about Albania.
Okay,
Have you heard anything about Albania?
I once dated a guy who was called Alban because his parents were from Albania. That's the only thing.
That you'd love to know from him?
I don't. No, nothing. The relationship didn't last that long.
Have you ever heard about a country named Albania? What is it? A country named Albania?
Albania, no.
Any guess where it is or?
Well, judging by the name, I'm guessing like Central America.
What have you heard about Albania?
I know you have like a red flag, right? With a black thing.
What about Albanians as people?
Not so much. No.
We're from Sweden, and it's far from Sweden, so.
In my experience, people find it very interesting when they learn that I am from Australia but living here. It's our dream to live in Australia, and you come here is a statement I've heard literally thousands of times. But after 5 years, I can honestly say that I am living the dream right here in Albania. I seem to see the country from a different perspective than most, perhaps because I'm from abroad, or perhaps because I didn't live here when things weren't quite as good as they are now. It's almost like I'm a little bit of an alien here. So let's start from the beginning. How on earth did I even come to be here? Well, it's a pretty interesting story, if I do say so myself. I first read about Albania in a popular travel guide about Europe back in 2004.
Emerging in the 1990s from her hardline communist isolation, Albania was like a stranger from another time. Her cities weren't choked by car fumes, her beaches lay unspoilt by mass tourism, and her long-suffering people were a little dazed and confused. While things have changed a lot since then, this ancient land still offers something increasingly rare in Europe these days. A glance into a culture that is all its own. Albania is distinctly Albanian.
This was when my obsession with Albania began. It wasn't until 2014 that I finally got to come to Albania. I had travelled extensively throughout Asia and finally was moving on for my first European adventure, and Albania was a feature country on the itinerary. I decided I would visit Berat and Saranda, spending 5 days of my 5-week trip exploring the country. But Albania had different plans for me. As I stood in Skanderberg Square, which back then was a crazy 4-lane roundabout, with my big yellow suitcase, trying to figure out which way to hold the map, I had my first experience of the incredible Albanian hospitality. People just kept coming up to me, asking if I needed help, what I knew about Albania, and even inviting me to have coffee.
Can I offer you one coffee? Later, maybe I can stay in the city. It's beautiful here.
Thank you.
After about the 16th person, I decided, yeah, why not? The employees of the cafe were just as friendly as the people on the street and genuinely intrigued as to what I was doing in Albania. I quickly found myself thinking, with people as friendly as this, maybe I need to stay in Tirana for a night after all. I set off wandering around the city looking for a place to rest my head and found myself a little hostel in Bloku. I'll stay for just one night, I told the German guy at reception. That's what they all say, he responded as he winked at me. Now I find myself saying this to many of the foreigners that come here. The rest of the hostel employees were Albanian, and in another typical show of Albanian hospitality, they put on a dinner for all the guests that night. As we were seated around the table, someone asked me, "So how do you find Tirana?" And with my total of 12 hours here, I rather thoughtlessly responded, "Oh, I love it. I could live here." Little did I know that I had just sealed my fate. I'm then told about a school looking for an English teacher and asked if they can pass on my details. Sure, couldn't hurt, right? The next morning, the director of the school calls me and asks if I can come in to meet her. After 2 minutes, she asks if I can start the next day. Wait, what? No, I don't actually live here. I've got 4 more weeks of my holiday and my work is expecting me back after that. The first phone call I made was to my work. So I have this opportunity. What would you say about letting me take a year off? 4 hours later, I got a phone call back saying that the request had been approved. Next, I call my friend. "Hey, can you move into my house, pay my rent, but leave all my stuff there and then move out again in a year's time?" "Sure," he says. "Really? This is too good to be true." Now, the big one. My mother. Surely my mother will tell me you can't just drop everything and move halfway around the world on a whim. Surely my mother will tell me this is crazy. Nope. I should have known you'd do something like this. Have fun. Even my mother is on board. This is happening. I am really going to move to Albania. And just like that, a whirlwind was set in motion. I finished my holiday and returned to Albania for what I thought would be a year-long adventure. I would never have believed you if you tried to tell me that I would end up still here after 5 years, let alone making a TV show about the country. When the year was up, I returned to Australia, to my former job, to my family and friends, to my car and my home. Everything was just as I had left it, but I was not. My heart was firmly in Tirana, and I wanted nothing more than to return. I handed in my resignation, sold everything that I owned, and moved my life to Tirana, Albania. Often when people hear my story, they think I must have been running away from something. Let me clarify this. I didn't need to leave Australia for any reason. I had a great job with a prominent energy company with a ridiculously good salary, family who love and support me unconditionally, and some of the best friends a person could hope for. I can't say exactly what it was about Tirana that I fell in love with. It's a feeling, a vibe, an atmosphere, something that I can't explain with words. So instead, I've created this 24-episode series in an attempt to show you why Albania is such a great place to live. Throughout my journey, we will explore the beauty of Albania, discover its culture and history, and address some of those issues that make people want to leave so badly. We'll also meet a lot of other people like me who come from abroad and now call Albania their home.
Hi, my name is Karen and I'm from the United States.
I'm from the US. I grew up in Dallas, Texas. I got recruited to teach here.
Where are you from, sorry?
Originally Japan. I live in Europe.
Where are you from, sorry?
Switzerland, Italy.
Where are you from?
We're from Germany.
From Germany? What are you doing here?
Yeah, we were just curious.
My name is Shelby, and I have been living in Toronto since August.
I'm a psychologist in New York.
Where are you from in New Zealand?
We're in a little place called Waihi Beach down in Tauranga.
Hi, I'm Mari. I'm a teacher here in Albania.
My name is Michael. 28 years old. I'm here living in Tirana, Albania.
I am here with my friends from Hong Kong. Where are you from?
America.
America. And you live here in Jakarta?
I'm from the Netherlands.
I was born in Michigan.
I'm Adriana Alvarez, and I live in Tirana.
I'm 29. I have been here since September. I decided to come here because I was ready for a change.
And I ended up looking on Google Maps to determine what country had the best
geographical features.
Right.
And I came to the conclusion that that was Albania, and here I am.
You might be wondering, who does this chick think she is to tell us about Albania? Well, during my 5 years in Albania, I have really immersed myself in the local lifestyle. I'm mostly friends with Albanian people, learned a bit of the language, and explored the country in its entirety. I've hosted more than 500 foreigners here and helped them to make the most of their time in Albania. I even have a food blog where I promote the bars and restaurants of Tirana. My passion and love for this country are tangible.
In the year 2000, a woman came to me for help. She was a refugee from Albania.
Right.
And she talked about, as a child, she was in Tirana, and they had to duck below the windows because of all the guns all the time.
Right.
And ever since then, I thought, someday I must go to Albania when there is peace.
Yes.
And now there's peace.
But I'm not the only one. There are plenty of people from all over the world who have decided to make Albania their new home. Many of the expatriate group are derived from religious missionaries, employees of the education service, or here on diplomatic missions.
I have been living in Toronto since August. I moved here to teach. I'm from America, but teaching internationally is kind of my thing, so I ended up in Albania.
Very nice. Can you tell me a little bit about how you ended up in Albania?
They have like it was through ISS, like an international like school search program, and Albania just kept popping up, and I saw it in December, and I saw it again in January, and I saw it again in February, and I finally applied for it because it seemed like a job that I wouldn't be able to get. It's an IB school. So I finally just applied for it. I had a really great interview, so I went for it.
And that was it?
I had, her name was Rochelle, actually. She was such like a lively person. I'm like, I want to work for her. So I ended up accepting the job.
Awesome. And what did you know about Albania before coming here?
Nothing. I kept seeing Albania, and I had this idea in my head that it was like, I knew it was Eastern Europe, but I thought it was like in the north, like near Ukraine, and I'm like, cool, that's interesting, let's move to that part of the world. And then I Googled it after taking the job, and it's not in Northern Europe. It is definitely in the south. Like, I had no idea where it was, so I didn't know anything about it.
They often stay for 1 to 2 years and head off for their next adventure.
What made you decide to come to Albania?
I got recruited to teach here, and that was about it. It's an IB program, so I need the IB experience to do other schools to further along my career, basically.
But what about those, like me, who become entranced by the hospitality of people? The ever-changing urban landscape and unrivaled natural beauty, and end up staying for the foreseeable future. I'm on a mission to find out more about these expats in Albania. First up, let's meet a digital nomad. That is, someone who runs an online business whilst travelling the world and working from anywhere.
Well, it's a beautiful day to be here at the lake. I'm about to meet with my friend Adriana from the USA, who has come here to live in Albania as a digital nomad. So I'm really excited to meet her and ask her some questions about why she's chosen Albania. So nice to meet you.
Same here.
Thank you for joining us today, and I'm really excited to hear more about your business and why you've chosen to live in Albania. So shall we?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Great. So Adriana, you've chosen to live in Albania. Can you tell me a little bit about what contributed to that decision?
Absolutely. So 20 years ago, I actually came here as a volunteer. Right after the Kosovo crisis, I volunteered at the Shtëpia Fëmijës, the orphanage here, and I fell in love with Albania. I learned the language, I fell in love with the people, the way of life, and so even after I left here, I kept coming back. And I got married almost 12 years ago, and I kept telling my husband, you have to see Albania. So we came 7-8 years ago together, and then we had 2 babies, and a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, I said, let's go to Albania together as a family. It's a great way of life, and like you said, we can live anywhere we want. As long as I have Wi-Fi, I can make money.
Very good. And so you're here now with your husband and your children. You have 2 children, is that right?
Yes.
And how old are they?
They're 4 and 5.
And how have they integrated into Albanian society?
They think they're Albanian. So they love it here. They go to school, they go to an international school. They have lots of Albanian friends, and so they feel right at home.
Yeah, fantastic. And tell me a little bit more about your business. How is it that you can work just online?
Well, 10 years ago, right after my husband and I got married, the real estate market in the US crashed. And everybody was hanging on to their jobs and fearful about what the economy was going to do. And I said, you know what? I don't really want a job. I want to start a business. So we started a business together, and in the beginning we created websites and did SEO and all of this. And we realized that we didn't actually need clients anymore. We could use all of the marketing knowledge that we learned for others to apply to ourselves. So I made the decision to become a business consultant and teach women all over the world how to start and grow a business that they love around their children, if they want to travel the world. Because the truth is most women, they can dedicate a few hours a day to their career, but there are so many other things that they value. And I want to teach them how they don't have to sacrifice one for the other.
Right. That collaboration with all the aspects of life that you want to be present.
Yes.
Do you have some advice for women here in Albania who would like to start a business of their own? Any tips or tricks that they may need to know about?
Absolutely. First of all, I think entrepreneurship is the best thing a woman can do, is to take control of your time, take control of your ability to make money and how much you can make. And the biggest thing that I would tell women is you already have valuable information, knowledge, and experience that you can apply in your business. Don't undervalue yourself. Instead of looking around wondering, what do I have to offer? Know it's there, and just keep looking at what other people come to you for, what you're naturally good at. Because when you build a business around what you're naturally good at, then it doesn't feel like work.
Absolutely. You get energized from those really tough days where you have a lot to do. So I think that's really great advice.
When I tell my story, I often get interrupted in the first few sentences with, "Oh, so you met an Albanian guy and fell in love." Well, not exactly for me, but we all know Albanians can be kind, warm, and generous, as well as generally being quite extroverted and comfortable talking to strangers. It's no surprise that many foreigners fall for this charm and charisma.
How are you? Good to see you. So your partner is Albanian.
Yes.
Can you tell me a bit about how you met him?
We actually met in Greece 8 years ago. It was just a family holiday for me, and he went to visit his brother who was working there at that time. Just decided to meet up one night, have some drinks. He did not speak any English. I did not speak any Albanian, so trying to communicate was very hard. Yes.
And so you said that was 8 years ago?
Yes.
So did you have a long distance relationship with him from back in Australia for the next period of time?
For the first couple of years, yes. And then we decided to be friends because I was at university. I didn't see myself travelling. And then I guess I came here in 2017 and decided, hey, let's give it a go, and we've been together since then.
Was he a big part of your decision-making process to move here?
Definitely, he was. I was looking at other countries to move to, but we decided to give it a go. So I'm like, all right, this might be the country that'd be best for us.
Another common reason for Americans to experience life abroad is as part of a volunteering program which places people on missions around the world, including here in Albania. Often living in rural areas, these volunteers see a different side of life from those who shack up in the big cities.
I'm here in Rogozina. I'm about to meet with Oliver, who is an American ex-Peace Corps volunteer who is in love with this town. We're going to ask him a few questions about what he likes about Rogozina. So let's go.
The town of Rogozina is part of a broader municipality under the same name, located approximately an hour's drive from the capital Tirana. The population, as of the last census in 2011, was just over 7,000 people. It's certainly not a place that you'll find on many tourist maps, and even Albanians would find it quite surprising to find out that a tourist, or a foreigner, had decided to settle there.
All right, so it's it's back here?
Yeah, so this is a school. And this is where, you know, my life in Albania pretty much first began.
Very cool.
It's actually 2 schools right here. They're both non-VHRA schools. I actually work at this one right here.
Over here, okay.
Yeah.
So this was your first experience here in Albania, right?
Yeah, this was it. This was it. I mean, I was in Pachin first for just a little bit of time, and then I came here, and even now everything has changed. This didn't exist. You know, there were trees everywhere. This is new. This is about a year and a half, 2 years old.
Oh, wow.
And we can cut through here.
Okay.
And this was it, right over here.
There really are a broad range of reasons as to why foreigners come here, for low cost of living, for love, and for doing good deeds. So what do they actually like about it? What do they notice as being so great about Albania?
So much has changed. One of the things that I always come back to is grocery shopping. So 20 years ago, I remember there were just a few markets that were more established versus just sort of like the corner neighborhood markets. And I would get excited when I'd find Philadelphia cream cheese, or they had a whole package of tuna versus just 1 or 2 little jars. And now you can find gluten-free items. I buy coconut sugar. I buy so many specialty items. Every tea you can imagine under the sun. Right. I'm a real chocolate person. You can find some of the the chocolate you can find here is so good.
Really?
So it's like the choices. There's nothing I can't get here.
How much love people show towards you. I've never met some people and they're hugging me, kissing me. Everyone's very friendly and warm, so it's great.
I say this honestly, that out of all the jobs that I've ever had, this was the best one.
Okay.
I had the most fun. Every day it was a new adventure. To compare it with an American school, I mean, there is just, you can't make a comparison like that.
Yeah.
No, I was very happy about the friendliness of people here, the very accepting nature. Because I know how to basically say thank you in Albanian, and that's pretty much it. And most of the shopkeepers and like the grocery store next to my house, the lady helps me shop and find things. So that type of thing I was super surprised about, and I was really thankful for it. Because I've been in some places where you just figure it out, and it hasn't really been like that here.
In Albania, you don't have to, for lack of a better term, watch your back like you have to in a lot of places. And it's interesting because from the outside, most people probably wonder if Albania is safe, when it's the exact far extreme from that, right? You can ask for help and somebody would volunteer to walk you there or drive you there. Or they're gonna watch your children or your bag while you go to the bathroom.
Absolutely.
And you don't have to worry one bit about it.
And so when I was first coming out, when I was first on my way out, I was expecting something, like I said, a little bit more boxed in, a little bit more concrete. I was expecting something that seemed a little bit more communist era type of feel to it.
Right.
And what I arrived in was nothing like that at all. The people here that I meet are very, very friendly. I don't think I've met a single person here yet that hasn't had the idea of friendship in mind, prior to meeting them. So you definitely feel safe here. You definitely feel comfortable here. And it's definitely easy to make friends here. Living is not very expensive. Food is not very expensive, and if you have some kind of an education, you can find a very decent job out here to kind of make the whole thing fit within itself. It's a wonderful place to live, definitely.
I believe that most of the foreigners have a time limit that they have here.
Yeah.
It's usually 1 or 2 years based on their contract. What makes some people stay longer than that? What is it about this place that captures them?
The people. The people. The people that I know that have been here for a long time have married somebody from here. Because if you can get through that other stuff and you can get to the real people, and you can get to who they are inside without the outside world and the corruption and all of that stuff in there, then the real people inside are great. They really are. And so I think the people that stay have found somebody to connect to that they can deal with the rest of it. But those of us who haven't found that person to connect to find that inner connection to how to get through all of this stuff, yeah, there's definitely an oven timer on that. Ding, time's up, time to go.
What has been your favorite thing about Albania?
Food.
Food, yes! I like these people. So where have you been before now?
Well, we just here. This is our first 2 days here.
Really? And what do you think?
Yeah, lovely.
It's nice,
Good to
huh?
get out there and find out, you know,
Good
how
view.
people live.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Of course, even us crazy foreigners who move here know that the country is not perfect and everything is not all rosy. What you might be surprised is just what we see as the biggest problems. Certainly, in my opinion, I see the biggest problems differently to what most of my local friends do.
Corruption is overwhelming. It becomes so noticeable that you can't get away from it.
And so when you first moved here, you moved in with his family. What was that like?
It was very different. His parents don't speak English, and just trying to communicate with our hands, it was very difficult. I live at home with my mum back in Melbourne, so it was nice to have a motherly figure in the home, but the culture's different, so having to clean and cook and look after my boyfriend was a bit difficult at first. But
us Australian women don't do that.
Lines. We are so used to forming a line and waiting our turn, whether it's at the elevator or the grocery store, but it's not really something that they do here. And so, what do I do when people get in line in front of me? And how do I handle that situation? And why do they do that? But it's, you know, it's just one of those things that's different.
The first word that I learned in Albanian, I'll tell you, is përshëndetje. Wow. That's hi? I said, no way I'm gonna learn this language.
Here it's been more along the lines of, I am teaching these kids how to be students. Like, they don't know how yet. It's not that they're not smart and they're not brilliant and I have not wonderfully intelligent young people. It's just that they've never been exposed to the type of rigorous academics that I think are necessary for them to be successful.
Right, so a lot of your teaching involves actually teaching how to learn.
How to learn, how to be a student, how to learn, how to be in a classroom, how to plan assignments, how to use a calendar. Like,
yeah.
I have kids that are like, I don't have a calendar, and I'm like, why don't you have a calendar? Where do you write your stuff down? We like, write your stuff down, and you're like, yes.
So, what do you think is the cause of that? Why do you think this skill is not possessed by Albanians?
You know what? And honestly, I don't know. Like, there was a bunch of protests like earlier in the year, and the college kids were protesting a bunch, and they were talking about how, like, their professors and their academics were basically like, you have to like give us money in order for it to pass you, and that I don't want to necessarily say corruption, but I guess poor ethics would be involved in that. And I think some of these kids are just missing out, and then some of the ones we're teaching now are not realizing the type of opportunity that they have.
The complete inability to wait your damn turn. Just wait your damn turn. Well, even driving, you know, we were talking earlier today, like I grew up learning how to drive in LA. I've driven in DC. I've driven in other countries where people say all the time that driving is completely crazy. Never in all my years have I had road rage like I have here, because these idiots should never be behind the wheel of a car. Sorry, guys, but
yeah, that's you. That's what we do.
Every single car thinks they're the only car on the road and they're the only car that matters. Every single car seems to be in some kind of race to be first to somewhere, which, sorry, unless you were the first one on the road, as soon as it got paved, you're not getting there first. And nobody's racing you to get there. It's not NASCAR, it's a highway.
And on this point, I have to agree. Driving in Albania is an experience not for the faint-hearted, and certainly something different to what I'm used to back home. So, in my country, Australia, I'm quite happy to drive. Right now, I'm in the car with my friend. It's Australia Day weekend, so we're on a road trip. And why I'm comfortable to drive here is because people actually follow the road rules, and the road rules make sense. The speed limit doesn't go from like 60 to 80 to 60 to 40 to 100 all in the space of 8 meters here. Right now it's 80 and I'm doing 80. Everyone else is doing 80. What else? Road rage. Okay, I've had a little bit of road rage since I've been driving today because I was on the freeway with someone really close behind me. But normally, not a problem. We drive on the left-hand side of the road here from the right-hand side of the car. So that's another difference that makes me a little bit uncomfortable to drive in Albania. This road is now 100, so if you can just pan to the road and see what it looks like. This is a 100 road. Right now I'm only going 80 because I'm pretty close to the car in front of me and I don't want to get any closer. And normally what me and my friend would be doing right now is pumping up the tunes and singing along, probably to like Aladdin or Lion King or some Aussie hip hop. And I have been introducing her to some Albanian hip hop as well. So there'll be some noisy playing in this car later. Yeah, so basically we're doing a road trip for Australia Day. We're heading out to a campground and you'll get to meet my friend there. Hi! Hi! Hi, Hannah! No, doesn't want a bar of it.
Not yet. You interrupted her drinking. Come on. Yeah.
Emma, the tent builder. Lexi, typically standing on the side watching. I'm gonna get back to driving because that's what I do here in Australia. I drive because people know how to. They follow the road rules. Another thing that many foreigners might find strange is that you'll find very little presence of major international chains, such as fast food or coffee shop franchises. Yes, that's right. Albania is just one country where you won't find a McDonald's or a Starbucks. So no road trip in Australia is complete without what we call a Macca's run, which means going through the McDonald's drive-thru, which is what I'm doing right now.
Can I get for you today?
Hi, can I please get a triple cheeseburger and a Big Mac without pickles?
Triple cheeseburger, Big Mac with no pickles. Were they just on their own?
Yes, please.
Yes, I think anything else?
And can I get just a cup of ice?
No worries, Sarah. Put that through. No worries. So I've got a triple cheeseburger, Big Mac with no pickles, and then I'll just put through a full water, but I'll just let them know just a cup of ice. Anything else?
That was all, thank you.
No worries. So that one just comes to $12.65. Just strike you whenever you can. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. And that, my friends, is how a Macca's run is done. Just stopped in a service station car park, eating a burger the size of my head. Good. Not everyone who falls in love with Albania does end up calling it home, though perhaps it's even more surprising when you hear about a foreigner who loves this country so much that they just keep coming back, and even working hard to promote Albania in their homeland. I was lucky enough to meet a lovely Dutch girl on her first visit to Albania. Despite hailing from the beautiful Netherlands, she also has a soft spot for the double-headed eagle and dedicates much of her time to her travel blog about Albania. Okay, so explain to me how on earth you came to Albania.
Yeah, I think it was by chance because when I finished my studies I thought I would travel for a while, and that's when they first introduced, that was 2 years ago in 2017, they introduced the flight from Amsterdam to Tirana.
Meanwhile, the Albanian Foreign Minister Ditmir Bushati confirmed an increase in Dutch investments in Albania by 30% and announced the launch of low-cost flights to Amsterdam.
I thought, okay, I never really thought about Albania, but let's check it out. So that's when I came for the first time for 6 days. Tirana, I thought, let's do a city trip for 6 days. It will be fun. But after 3 days, I'd pretty much seen all of Tirana because I'd been walking non-stop since 3 days. Took the car, went south to Berat, to Permet, to Banja, and that's when I thought, okay, I need to come back here because there's so much more to see, especially outside of the city. Yeah. And I came back again 2 months later for a month, traveled all around, And I had a lot of pictures and my friends were very curious, you know, okay, so you've been to Albania. No one had been to Albania. So they were like, okay, show us some pictures. And I started showing them, they got interested, posted them on Instagram. And that's how the blog really started.
You came here, you came for 6 days. What made you come back over and over and over again?
I think mostly the nature.
Yeah?
Yeah, which is really great. Also the people, like I had really great experiences just in guest houses. So people would be very friendly. If I would ask for tips, for example, if I would go somewhere and then I would just ask around, just ask the locals like, okay, what are the places that you would go to? What places would you recommend? And that's what I would follow every time. And yeah, it always happened to be something great, yeah.
So that's pretty much how you traveled, like you go somewhere and then you ask someone like, what should I do? Do you remember how we met?
I do, you wrote me.
Can you tell me?
You wrote me on Instagram.
Yes?
Tell
me more about this story.
I actually am still wondering how you discovered my Instagram. I don't know. Yeah, you had the food blog. I think I was just researching for my own trip. Also Instagram actually helped me a lot to discover places. I would just go on hashtags on Albania, and that's with location tagging and just also talking to people on Instagram. I learned more from Instagram than from Google, for example.
Right?
Or the normal places where you would normally go to have tips, like TripAdvisor or
yeah,
I don't know,
useless
any
for
other
Albania,
sites.
but if you go on social media, you can definitely find something.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and I wrote to you and I was like, hey, are you still in Albania? Like, do you want to catch up? So what was that like having someone random write to you and be like, hey?
That would happen all the time.
Yeah?
That would happen yeah, I don't know, mostly Albanians. Maybe because, first of all, they would be surprised that a foreigner was very interested in Albania because it's not that common, I think.
Yeah.
Like, lots of Albanians live not in Albania, in foreign countries, and then there's this feeling of nostalgia, and that's also what I experienced traveling around. Like, people are very interested also to talk about their culture, to talk about their history, their heritage. And for tourists, it's interesting.
As you can see, foreigners who come to Albania seem to fall in love with it. But what do our friends and families back home think about us living here?
When I got the phone call, I thought, where is Albania, firstly, and why would anyone want to go there? I didn't know anything about Albania at all.
I knew where Albania was, but I couldn't work out why you wanted to go there.
Well, we just thought that you actually, obviously, when you went back to Albania, we thought, well, you obviously enjoyed it. And you did tell us some good things about Albania, so we weren't that worried about you going back. Peter?
I figured if you're in your mid-20s, you can go wherever you like.
That's right.
When I heard that you were moving to Albania, I was really surprised. I didn't know too much about Albania. I knew it was in Europe, and I knew that you had a good time there when you were traveling through, but beyond that, I didn't know what the economic situation was. I wasn't sure what work you would do.
I didn't know much about Albania when I made that phone call. Just that it was a place where she went to and she fell in love with it from the second she was in there. And she met some really cool people, and I don't know, just that she was happy.
Often, we end up bringing our friends and families over to visit Albania. Does visiting the country themselves change their views?
My impression of Albania was I absolutely loved it. I could see why you fell in love with it. It's still, there's something really special about it from my perspective. I enjoyed the food, I enjoyed the atmosphere, I didn't fear it at all. And I can see it that it's like a bud of a flower that's slowly opening and emerging as something really special. I really enjoyed my stay there.
My impression isn't completely negative of Albania, and I think it's helped that I've been watching the news and I feel a lot more connected to it, and I feel up to date because you talk about all the issues that they're having, and there's so many really positive initiatives, as well as like there's just the same political drama that we're having in Australia that you're having in Albania. I feel like there's so many relatable issues, and then some really positive changes. I love the charity bins for kids in need over Christmas, where you can donate toys so that everybody gets something at Christmas. That was something I really felt, wow, like that's a policy that could be worldwide.
During the series, you'll get to meet my family a little bit better, as they will join me for a few adventures.
Hello, my name's Cara. I am from Australia, and this is my third time in Albania. I live in France now with my boyfriend.
My name is Sebastian. I come from Colombia, and we live in France, and I'm a student there. And this is my second time in Albania, and I'm very happy to be here. I love this country and the people.
Hi, my name is Sarah. I'm from Melbourne, Australia, and this is my first time in Albania. And this is my partner, Gianluca.
Hi, my name's Gianluca. I'm also Australian, and also my first time in Albania and Tirana. And so far, so good.
I'm so lucky that so many people have supported me staying here, despite being in a seemingly strange place and so far from my loved ones.
So why do I stay here?
Lexi, you are an anomaly. You are an anomaly. You stay here because you see the good in all the people here. You have a much larger connection. You may not have one person, but you are able to get into all of the good in the expats and in the locals, and really want to make a difference. And so because you can see that and you have that drive, that keeps you here.
Oh, Albania. A small country in Europe straddling the Mediterranean Sea. Home to a population of around 3 million people, including me, Aleksandra Lewis. Just one of the many people from around the world who loves all the positive things that can be found here in the land of the eagle. Whilst the country might not be perfect, the people are friendly and welcoming, and the nature is truly unrivaled. This little country really packs a punch. Don't believe me? Join me for the next 23 episodes as I give you my alien perspective on the good, the bad, and the beautiful, highlighted through social experiments with foreigners and locals alike. Because let's be real, sometimes in Albania, we may all feel a little bit alien, but that's not such a bad thing.